and Randy Moss, without even really being able to run as he shoots the moon to the
pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis's first catch has given the Minnesota.
Four, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to another episode of House Calls, brought to you here by Minnesota Sports Talk. I am Skoldoc, and brought to you, as always, by Dave. And we have a special guest tonight, Steven, joining us. Welcome in, Steven. How you doing, man?
Oh, another fun, cold day in Minnesota, but nonetheless, pretty good. So we survive. We roll on, right? Every day.
I know what you mean. It's 75 here, and I just can't.
Where are you?
Florida.
Oh, lucky you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Chicago. It wasn't much warmer here today, and we're expecting a bunch of snow tomorrow.
15 minutes, right? I'm like 15 minutes from the stadium. I'm right in the suburb of the Twin Cities here, so I'm right near the stadium, not too far from there. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So, we're going to kick off the show tonight by just reacting to the Super Bowl. Everybody knows it was a tough watch.
I didn't even watch.
That fourth quarter, honestly, I didn't even watch the fourth quarter, but that Eagles team, you got to give it up to them. I don't like Eagles fans. None of us like Eagles fans. To be fair, there's some good ones out there, but there's a lot of bad ones out there. They rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
But the Eagles squad is a hell of a team. I love Saquon. Jalen Hurts is a good dude. Root for that guy. And I mean, they just took care of business, man. That defensive line just worked the Kansas City offensive line. It really was like a flashback when the Bucs handled Kansas City in the Super Bowl, but it felt it was just much worse. Like Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, couldn't do anything. So, Steven, let's start with you and just your takeaway from the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and what can the Vikings do to kind of, emulate the Eagles going into next offseason to take that next step and get one step closer to being a Super Bowl contending and winning team?
Yeah, you pretty much already hit everything on the head there. But, I'm not a big fan of the Eagles in general. I don't like the fans. I have some friends that actually are good friends of mine, but they're actually just, they're not, I can't say the word, but they're not, yahoos, like most Philly fans are. But I give them credit. They're on paper, they were the better team. They were built better. You got the best quarterback in the world, but it don't matter when you can't protect him. It is what it is. That you saw from the very first play of the game when he got, sacked. It was just a long night for KC. And yeah, you pretty much, it was almost like a mirror image of that Tampa Bay game, several years ago when they basically routed them. They had a good game plan. I don't think they blitzed once that whole game. I think I was told, which is amazing to me too, considering, how much pressure they were getting on him the whole game. You don't blitz one time. That's amazing, but yeah, you got to give it up to them. They're built to win. I think Howard Roseman gets a little too much credit. I don't like Nick Sirianni. I think he's a jackwang, but that's just my opinion, which I think most people would agree with me on that one outside of Philly, but again, this shows you if you hit on draft picks and you get lucky for agency once in a while, and we got one half of that I think figured out. We got to get the other half figured out with the draft now, but yeah, they had a game plan. They emulated it, and they won. They took care of business. So best thing I can say is, hats off to them. And I don't think we're a long ways away like my people think we are, but it starts with this year. You got to nail the draft. You got to nail free agency again this year, and maybe in a year, I think we're still a year or two away, from really contending for a title. But again, if you get lucky like this year, you never know when you're going to win 14 games. It doesn't happen very often, too. This year's supposed to be half that by Vegas this year. I think we're supposed to win by Vegas standards. So, you got to get some luck on your side. They had some luck, good opponents in the playoffs, but it is what it is. But you got to start with the draft and go from there. I'm not a huge component of Kwesi. I'm not a big fan of his, honestly. I think he's a little too Wall Street for my liking. Not a football guy, like Spielman. I hated him too, but you got to at least give the guy credit. He was a football guy, But yeah, you got to start with the trenches, and I'm not saying you have to go all in with your resources, but you need at least 2 new starters in free agency, another one in the draft, and same thing with the defensive line. You got to hit at least one in free agency, one in the draft. I think that's how you start from there and go from there. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Dave, what was your biggest takeaway from the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, it's just centered around good drafting over the years. I mean, you cannot blame me because I wanted Jordan Davis and I didn't want to trade
So did I.
to get Lewis Seen.
I wanted Kyle Hamilton, but we don't talk about that.
Well, I was Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, it was one of the two,
James
right?
Williams.
It was one of the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I was Jordan Davis, then Kyle Hamilton. Those were my 3 in a row, and I did a video on the 3 guys I think we could get at 12, and they went 12, 13, and 14.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God.
And then you saw the trade, and you're like, okay, well, at least we got their first round pick.
That.
Yeah, we're gonna get their first round pick next year, and then it's like, what?
I think that's what ruined it for me. I was okay with the trade at the time until I saw what we got in return. Had they gotten the first round pick back, I don't think anybody would be talking about that, 3 years later, because we would have a pick next year, too. So it didn't matter. But yeah.
But obviously, it just matters, offensive line, defensive line.
Trenches.
I was telling you that last. I was picking the Eagles just because I felt like they had a better overall squad, and the defense was hitting it good, and they kind of unleashed their quarterback just at the right time, and just took the playoffs by surprise. Played great, won the MVP. And like you said, it's hard not to like some of the players on the Eagles team. It's just, the fans. Someone actually confronted me on Twitter. Do you not like the team or do you like the fans? You know what? It's mostly about the fans. So, but yeah, I like me some, I loved when the last time in the Super Bowl, Sirianni flipped off the crowd and Hurts put his arm down. Put that shit away.
Yeah.
And I
that's what I'm talking about. He's a goon. Yeah.
That coach's kid.
Sirianni's a goon. That's all he is.
A solid dude. I didn't know this, but Barkley and then Cooper DeJean had the same birthday, and it was on the Super Bowl as my late father. So February, that was pretty cool. Cooper DeJean, first pick of his career is a
pick six
in the Super Bowl against people who said was the GOAT. I'm not a GOAT. Pat Mahomes is a GOAT player. I think his coach is the GOAT. Gets a lot out of his players, but he is a top quarterback, and he'll go in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, Brady's the GOAT. I'm sorry. Brady's the GOAT.
As much as I don't like that guy, and I don't like him with one iota of my blood, you have to acknowledge greatness, and what he did is it'll never be done again, in my opinion. It never will be even touched. What he did. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very impressive what Patrick Mahomes has done, making 7 straight AFC Championship games, winning 3 Super Bowls already.
And he's been in 4 straight Super Bowls now, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Yeah. And that's just incredible. And the ones that he's lost, he had no shot. His offensive line just didn't protect him. I mean, God bless Joe Tooney's soul. He's a guard playing tackle out there and trying his damnedest. But they just ran out of duct tape and super glue on that thing. And the Eagles had every single guy
waiting for the test was even given to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said earlier, they did not blitz one time.
Yeah.
I think on Score North, their show today, they said something.
That's where I get that's my number one guys. I don't like the other guys across town. They're too positive, Anyway, I'm not gonna, you know what I'm talking about.
They said that there was 4 games in Super Bowl history where the defense did not blitz one time.
Wow.
And those teams were 4-0. And it just goes to show you that if you can generate pressure with 4, it's such a superpower. And all week long, they were talking about Spags and, his exotic blitzes and stuff. And he did get Jalen to make a bad decision and throw an arm punt for an interception. But, I mean, we've been saying it that Eagles roster construction, That's the blueprint for the Minnesota Vikings. So how far are the Vikings away from that blueprint? And to me, the answer is probably more than 1 year away, but no more than 2, in my opinion. I think they can make a significant dent this offseason. And I think that this offseason, we're all well aware of it. The key word is trenches, right? We're expecting it. Milton Williams, that's the guy that I'm really interested in, which brings me into my next talking point for the show, is going into the Super Bowl. I was more of along the thinking of do whatever you got to do to prioritize the offensive line, fix the interior offensive line, because you're going to protect JJ McCarthy. He's the most important player on this team going into next year, making sure that he's ready to go. And 2, you're going to develop a running game that's going to take a lot of pressure off your young quarterback, and we need to be a more complementary team on offense and run against light boxes more successfully. After that game, though, and after just the playoffs in general, where we saw CJ Stroud and quarterbacks like Justin Herbert just completely shit themselves, right, under pressure, I think it's more important now that we get that interior pressure figured out personally. So to me, if we're choosing between a guy like Trey Smith or Milton Williams, I'm going to go with the defensive tackle.
Yeah. Well, Williams was my number 1 target going back a month. I was looking at PFFs. They finally got all their top 100 free agents out there. He's been on my radar for a while, but my draft buddies, they really hammered it home. Really good friend of mine, Tyler. He's been on that show with them, Tyler Fornes. He has his own, First and Skull, 2 channel. He actually doesn't like him. And he thinks I'm looking into it more, but it's kind of true. He's kind of a one-trick pony. He's a pass rush guy. He doesn't have a lot of whole run, and he's played a limited role so far. I, however, think there's another level he can unlock with Flores for sure. If you can get him in a full-time role, and again, he's more of a pass rush specialist, but who cares if you can get to the quarterback 10 times a year? I think he's worth $20 million all day long. I'd still sign him. So. I like him a little better than the guy from Dallas. I can't pronounce his name. I'm going to try. Osa, I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, just call him Osa.
Yeah, whereas it's kind of flipped with him. He's more of a run defender, but he's still a pass rush guy. But either way, I still think Williams is your number 1 target. And with Trey Smith kind of having a crappy game last night or the other night, maybe he goes back to KC. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to leave. He's already won rings, but he's going to look for a payday too. And unfortunately, I think Chicago might overpay to get him. But if I had to pick, I'd go with Milton Williams and a tandem of give me Becton and, something like Aaron Banks or, Will Fries or somebody like that nature. Or sorry, I meant Tevin Jenkins, excuse me.
Yeah.
Give me 3 of those guys. And I think you better use your assets that way too, So yeah.
I was trying to find the tweet there, but it said that Milton Williams this year had the highest PFF grade for interior pressure as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
But in terms of against the run, he was like 105.
He's like bottom 5, I want to say.
He was real bad.
Yeah, qualified, whatever it was.
So to Forno's point, he is a one-trick pony, but it's a pretty damn good trick.
Again, we need that one trick in the playoffs. So if you need your superstar players, but you need guys like that who can get you over the hump, get to the title game itself too. So yeah.
Dave, I know that we've been talking last couple of weeks about some trench play, and you've been along the same lines of don't blow your wad on Trey Smith. Get a couple of guys in the line, whether that's Tevin Jenkins or Becton that we talked about, or Aaron Banks.
Will Fries, whoever, somebody on that combination.
Yeah, I'm a big Will Fries guy.
And Dave's been big on the cornerback room. He actually, throughout the episode, he wouldn't mind bringing in a couple corners, a defensive tackle, and then some cheaper offensive line pieces. And kind of keep the offensive line more with trial by numbers rather than like the big spender.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were looking at cornerback from the Jets, DJ Reader.
Oh, DJ Reed, yeah.
DJ Reed.
Yeah.
We thought he'd be a good guy, but I think Skoldok's thinking that our guy
Myron Murphy
Jr. Would be too expensive, and then people are talking about him being $22 million. I don't think he signs with us for.
I don't know. Sorry about the chips. I'm sorry about that. I have OCDs. It just helps me kind of relax and balance. I'm sorry, I won't do that anymore.
No, you're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't think it would come through. I like Reed, and but you can't spend on two corners. There's just no way. You got to pick one, and I think if you're gonna pick one, just keep Murphy. I would just keep him. Sorry, Spotrac. I don't know where they're getting $22 million. I think he's, PFF usually is pretty spot on with their projections. I think he's 17 I saw for 3 years, somewhere in there. They're projecting PFF like 17 a year, 3 years, 51 million, I
Yeah,
think.
I wasn't thinking it would be over 20 myself, but
Yeah, I don't think he's more
you
of a
need to have
slot guy.
you need, even though he's still young, you need to have a longer track record than just 1 year to get.
I mean, he finally, I think, put it together this year, and some people question those interceptions that they were kind of garbage, whatever. You got to make the pick either way. You still made the pick, what happened regardless, in those situations.
Hell, he should have had 2 more.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, he should have had 2 more. Yeah, of course, in the worst possible time. He drops those. And what was one of those in the Detroit game? Wasn't one of those in the? It doesn't matter.
Well, early in the year, he dropped like 2.
But I like Reed. He's a little, again, you're splitting hairs, but what is Murphy's 26, 27? You think he's 26? He's not that old. He's younger than anybody. I know that. Out of the group, Samuel's 25, I want to say. Asante Samuel, I like him too. I think he's 27. Yeah, I think he's 27.
Asante Samuel Jr. is 25.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I meant Murphy. He's like 27. I want to say.
Oh yeah, I think he's 20. Yeah, gonna be 28 next year.
Okay, so he's a year younger than Reed and Travis Ward. I'm not a fan of. I think the guy's got too many personal. He had unfortunately that problem with his family, and I've been down that. I've been through that myself personally. Don't want to talk about it, but it's that messes up your head. And when you're a professional athlete like that, it might mentally just screw you up. And I don't know he's 29, so he's getting kind of closer to the edge, I think too, but if I had to pick, I would just keep Murphy, or I'd go after Samuel. Would be my choices, honestly. So yeah, that would be my choice.
My hierarchy would be, I like Asante Samuel Jr. because he's young. Yeah, so I like that idea there. But DJ Ward is my guy, dude. I say
DJ Reed? You mean
DJ Reed? Thank you, DJ Reed. Yeah, he's just a tough, in your face man cover corner.
He's a bulldog. Yeah, he's a bulldog. You need those guys. We don't have a lot of those guys on the defense.
He was not afraid to go toe to toe with Jefferson.
He'll level. He kind of reminds me of Winfield Senior.
Yeah, he's scrappy. Yeah, I agree. I could see that in him. I can really see that in him. Maybe not as big of a tackler, but yeah.
And he had a better
season. Still good enough, but still good enough.
He had a better year than Sauce Gardner did this year.
Yeah, well, I think Gardner had a down year, but people have already written him off. He's still one of the best corners in football. He when he coming out of college, he's still, I think, one of the best corners in football. So that whole team is just toxic, and we know where it starts with ownership down to number 12, and he won't be there next year anyway. Still, it's a bad situation, I think, all around, for those guys. But anyway, that's a whole other story, so. But yeah,
we talk trenches so much like this offseason so far. It's just obvious. Like the Vikings, that's where they're going to spend. I'm extremely confident that they're going to spend there finally because they have the resources to do so, and they're not going to just hopefully not stick Blake Brandel back at left guard. Like, let's actually spend some money and fix a problem here. But we touched on it a little bit. Did the Super Bowl change your mind at all in terms of Trey Smith?
Just seeing some of the. I didn't watch most of the game, but seeing where he got kind of blown up on the plays that were kind of his fault, which I think half those sacks were attributed to him. I want to say the 6 sacks that Mahomes got, I think at least 2 of those were his fault. I'd still like it. I wanted to draft him when they drafted him. 4 years ago, I really wanted him in the draft, and then he fell to the 6th round, and I'm like, dude, take a flyer on the guy. He has, lung issues, but it's a 6th round pick. Who cares, right? He doesn't play. He doesn't play. Big deal. We have guys going back 15 years that haven't played because Spielman was just, a genius and could fool everybody with his 10 7th round picks every year, which never worked out, obviously. But I like him, but at a certain price point, I wouldn't go past 20, which I think he's going to get. I think he's going to get more than that, honestly. You remember Wilkins, a year ago of free agency was projected around, I think, 18 to 20 million. He got what, 23 million a year, something like that. He
Yeah, he
got
got
way
paid.
more than everyone expected him to get, in free agency. So it happens. These guys, they're going to get more than what, the top 4 or 5 guys, they're going to get more than what they expected to get anyway, because it's just what happens. Guys bid them up and, they just get outbid by other teams. It's just what's going to happen, I think. So I'm not out on him after the game. I still love to have him. Again, like, don't get me wrong. But like I said, I think I'd rather have Becton, who's a mammoth of a human being, for like what, maybe half the price, if that. I think I'd rather have him over. I think Trace. I think money wise, I think I'd rather have him and Williams. I think I'd rather go that route with him probably. So
Dave, I know you've never really been like the Trey Smith guy. You wouldn't be opposed to it, but I just don't think it's your favorite avenue.
I was like, hey, if we got him, I would be like, that's cool. But then
Right.
I also made the point that you put that money into one player, and if he gets hurt, it's like, oh, we got holes.
You're screwed. Which would
we got holes now.
That would be our luck. It would happen too, wouldn't it?
But did the Super Bowl like change your opinion of him in any way?
I mean, one game's not gonna change my opinion of a guy. Honestly, I wasn't, when I saw him, when I looked at video of him, I wasn't going, okay, this guy's $22 million.
Right.
That's my problem with him. He's not 20.
I agree.
Now, when I look at Freeze and I say, okay, I love this guy. This guy's he's got a mean streak. He's a finisher. I think he does everything well and at a discount.
Because he had a broken leg.
Yeah,
that's your
injury,
discount.
The injury scares me, but if he's healthy, I think he's an above average good guard. I think he's top 15 guard in football. When he's healthy, I think he's definitely that top 20 range for sure in all of football when he's healthy. Given, but yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't, you look at his stats all year. He had great stats all season, and again, he's like, we go back to the first topic. That D line for Philly is just the best in football. I mean, so you say what you want. He's probably one of the better guards, but they didn't face that level of competition all year at all, too. Who they faced all year that was half that good all year in the AFC. Can you name me a defensive line that is as good as Philly? I can't. Can you? I can't think of another one that's good as them. I can't. Not at least in AFC anyway. I can't. So
this just popped in my head. We were talking about Milton Williams earlier and how he's not a great run defender. What if you draft at 24 Kenneth Grant, big ass 340, nose that exactly if he's there, but a big nose tackle who can collapse a pocket, great athleticism that allows you to move Harrison Phillips out to 5 technique where he's better, truer position for him. And then on more pass rushing downs, you bring in Milton to combine with Kenneth Grant in the middle. You got Dallas Turner, Andrew Van Ginkel, yeah, baby. And then you got Grenard. I mean, now we're cooking with gas, right? That sounds pretty damn good to me.
But again, are you going to pay a guy $20 million come in on passing downs? I don't think you're going to pay him $20 million coming on passing downs. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you, and again, I hate to go off topic, but if you trade a guy like Van Ginkel, he had a good year. He's 30 this year, so can he replicate that? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a scheme fit with Flores. I think it's really a scheme him with him. I think he's more of a pass rush specialist. I think myself, too. He's good in coverage. Obviously, we saw 2 pick sixes. He should have 3 this year, shouldn't he? Should have 3 of them this year. But you're not going to pay a guy $20 million. That was Tyler's point today. Was you're not going to pay that guy $20 million just to come in for halftime. That's not going to happen. It would just be a waste of resources, in my opinion. But again, if you can fortify the D line, and then I'm all for it though. Either way, however you get there, just get there. Doesn't matter how you get there. So just get there. So
yeah, I agree. Let's see what our next talking point is. Let's transition now to Sam Darnold, because of course we got to talk about Sam Darnold, right? As we get closer to the combine here, Dave, let's start with you. What do you think the realistic chance is that Sam Darnold is tagged and then traded to a team, let's say the Raiders? I think that's the most likely landing spot to me, is the Raiders.
Gosh, we would know more after the combine, right? When we hear all this scuttlebutt, but
right.
Right now, I mean, 20%, 15. 5, I guess, by Steve. Steve
Yeah.
always says 5%.
Yeah, I think it's
I was just being like
non-zero chance, but I don't think it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So you think, Dave, that it's more likely that he just leaves in free agency?
Free agency.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to have a trade in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. There's no. Oh, let's sign him and then see what we get.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
There's gonna be some talk at the combine, right? That's before free agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you guys put any stock into the fact that Kevin O'Connell said the phrase that, quote unquote, Sam Darnold has earned the right to be a free agent? Like, to me, that's significant that he actually said that. And then, like, when they turn around and slap the tag on him to trade him, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the Vikings are fully prepared to let him go test the market.
Well, if you can kind of recall, and here's the thing with KOC, Kwesi, he plays like, that's what I hate about Spielman. They won't tell you, it's all diplomatic, they won't give you any answer. They're good, that's their job. They're good at that. KOC doesn't lie, but he doesn't exactly not tell the truth either, too. If you listen to any of his pressers, he kind of slips things in every now and then, like the Daniel Jones thing. He's like, well, he could have put that to bed and said, we're not going to sign the guy. And he's here, a couple days later. Like, if you listen to what he says, like what he kind of, his little nuggets, like if you go back a year ago, he said we'd love to have Kirk back. I think you already knew he was already gone. Like, so if you listen to how, like, I guess the way he words his phrases, if you listen to him closely, I think there is nuggets in like what he says. So like that one, for instance, caught my eye. I think it's all puppet talk anyway. Again, this time of year, they have to like show that they're still interested in bringing him back. And you listen to every other day, it's Graziano or Jeremy Fowler or Pelissero saying, "Oh yeah, he's coming back. He's not coming back." Again, they're just feeding the nuggets to get it out there because they have to look like they're interested to keep the trade interest up. But I think it's already a conclusion. I think he's already going to Vegas. I think that's number one. I think he is going to Vegas. I'm pretty sure he's going to Vegas. I think he's going there for sure by far. So it wouldn't shock me to see him sign 10 minutes of free agency with Vegas because it makes sense, to go to Vegas. You're not going back to New York. Tennessee, I think, could be a wild card. I don't think it's going to happen, but they could trade out the number one pick. I'm not sold on Cam Ward or Sanders personally. I think they're both middle tier quarterbacks. That's just me personally. I'm not a draft. I'm not a draft expert, but I just don't see it with either of those guys. It's so you could get a haul and then try next because speaking of being years away, the Titans they're light years away from being anywhere relevant again. So because you need that whole roster, I think, besides Simmons, is bad. I want to say, it's a bad whole. Look down the list of whole teams, But I think he's going to Vegas. I think the tag and trade was a month ago before he crapped the bed. Those last two games. I think it was a possibility. After the way the season ended, I just don't think it happens because, like you said, if you gamble and you're wrong, you're screwed. If you tag him and you don't trade him, then you're royally screwed. That's $40 million you can't spend on free agency at all, and then you're royally screwed. So I don't think it happens.
What's the tag? Steve, you seem to be pretty into it. And
the
40 mil,
what's
right?
the tag
franchise
where you
tag,
can...
I think, is 40 million. The transition tag, I think, is 34 million. I want to say.
What's the one where you can test free agency?
Yeah, so it's the franchise tag is that's a non-exclusive. Right. No one can negotiate. Transition tag. There's actually two of them. I'm not going to go into both in the detail here, but that's where it gives you power to negotiate with other teams. And if they sign him, then they owe you draft picks. That's how it works. So let's say if you do exclusive rights, which again, I've seen it actually, it happens. Remember, well, here's a good one. Lamar Jackson. Remember Lamar Jackson a year or two ago? Remember him? They put the tag on him a year or two ago. Baltimore did on Lamar Jackson. Remember 2 years ago or a year ago when he wanted a new contract? And if anybody else is signing, they owe him 2 first-round picks. So that's how it works. So it's rarely ever used, but it can. But I doubt it will happen. Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. The way at KOC, I think he already knows. Again, he's gone. Again, the plan always, like, listen to Thor. I'm a big proponent. I'm a huge McCarthy guy, by the way. I was a McCarthy guy before anybody else. Before the draft last year. he was my number one guy by far. I loved him in college. I've seen him play in person. That kid is just mentally that kid. I think he has it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he has it. Guys like Kirk and Sam, they're good, talented players. But this kid, he has that it factor that you just can't teach. What they call them, intangibles. He has that it factor you just can't teach. He has that factor in him. I think mentally by far. So I don't think it happens, but I could be wrong. You never know. Hey, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. You never know, right? Anything can happen. You never know. So yeah.
The comments are talking about Aaron Rodgers fulfilling the prophecy.
No freaking way.
Exactly.
No shot in hell. Keep that clown far away from my team as far as possible.
Yeah, dude, he's a cancer. He's just a cancer. So, in my opinion, I think the Vikings make sense for Aaron Rodgers, right? Playoff ready team, lots of stars, ready to win.
Oh yeah,
but he doesn't make sense for the Vikings. Obviously,
yeah, it's the other way around. It's not like we had in 09 where we had the team ready to go. We needed Favre to drive the car, so to speak. We needed him to drive that car. Right. The team was built ready to roll. They just needed a guy at the helm, and he was that guy. Even at 40 years old, he was still that guy. But yeah,
to me, there's really only like one team that makes sense for Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's the Steelers. Playoff ready team.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Team that's flirting with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields.
Yeah. They make sense. Yeah.
One last chance, good defense. That's really the only option I see for him. I mean, he's not going to want to go to a place like the Titans who draft a young quarterback and, play as a bridge because they have no shot to win the Super Bowl, right? At this stage in his career.
But what about Frisco? That would never happen. I think Frisco's going to pay Purdy.
They're paying Purdy. They're paying Brock. That's all they're saying.
But they will. They shouldn't pay him, but they will. So, you think that guy's worth $200 million? I don't think so. But
no, I don't think so. I think they're going to be in purgatory like we were with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, like we were with Kirk for 6 years. Well, I never liked.
They're going to have to draft super damn well.
Well, again, last pick in the draft, that's never going to happen again. There's just no way. That's never going to happen again, probably.
You're a big JJ McCarthy fan, and I know you just said about Kirk.
Yeah.
So in his last year with us, he was the 15th highest average value quarterback. What happens with JJ McCarthy in year 4? You sign him $55-60 million when it's
by then it could be 75, 80 by then. Yeah, we don't know. Right? The cap is going up. We don't know.
Do we only get JJ McCarthy for 3 years or 4 years?
For me,
can we get rid of him?
I don't think so. I think he's your franchise guy for the next decade. That's just my opinion. If he stays healthy, I think he's your franchise guy for at least a decade. He just turned 22 2 weeks ago. I think he's your franchise guy. And unfortunately, I'm not a big proponent of paying market value to these, average, okay quarterbacks. Because like a lot of these guys talk about, you don't pay a guy that kind of money unless he's generational.
You feel like if that's the case, he's elite, you do it. Just like we just saw 2 highly paid quarterbacks face off in the Super Bowl.
Well, I will say, though, Jalen's cap hit right now is not that high.
Yeah, but it will be in a year from now. It will be 2 years. And again,
and Mahomes has that super weird contract structure to where it's not
when you sign a decade long, you can push money to next Sunday if you really want to, which they have been the last 2 years already. Now they got Joe Thuney, they got they just gave Creed Humphrey all that money. They got Chris Jones locked up for I don't know how long, a couple more years. At the highest cap hit for any defensive tackle. They had Tyreek Hill, but they let him go. But they're gonna have you have to sign, but you got to pay McDuffie now, who's an All-Pro corner. You got to, Nick Bolton, the second round pick. You got to pay him now next year. So I don't think they can afford to bring Smith back. But again, that's why I actually like the chances of us signing Milton Williams because again, you got to pay Jordan Davis a year from now. You got to pay Carter 2 years from now, right? You're not letting those guys go. They're your number one guys. You're not letting those guys go, right? So you're gonna have to pay all these guys. That's what happens. You got to pay all these guys. Just what happens. That's what it is.
Yep.
They won their title.
That's the cap puzzle that makes the NFL fun. So, Ronald says in the comments he says, has Kwesi got extended yet? We're actually going to talk about that.
Not yet, but they said it's basically going to happen any day now. That's what Al Lewis said today, basically on his podcast.
But sticking with JJ McCarthy, I've been seeing a little bit lately about, just the general consensus of NFL fans saying, well, one of these guys has to bust, right? So far, all of them have looked pretty darn good, maybe outside of Caleb Williams, really. And that's kind of funny how he's the number one pick. And, he has all this great setup everyone's talking about. And he's the one that looked the worst out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So people are kind of, shading JJ McCarthy in a sense of, well, he's the only one we haven't seen yet. And everybody else
he hasn't played it down yet. So,
right.
Yeah.
But, that just goes to show they kept saying that this quarterback class, going into last year was going to be one of the best quarterback classes that we've ever seen. And it's lived up to the hype so far.
In a decade plus, it's probably the best one I've seen in probably 15, 20 years by far.
Yeah.
And
I thought that Knicks was going to be garbage. I mean, that's what your boy Forno was telling us. That's what Thor
they clowned him and they hated him. Yeah.
And I freaking hate Sean Payton so much, probably more than Sirianni.
By far.
But it was really impressive what he was able to do with Bo Nix. And I honestly, I could only tell you like one or two guys on that offensive line for the Broncos, but they had the number one pass blocking efficiency in the NFL. So they did a great job protecting him. But this is good for the NFL guys. I mean, getting quarterbacks that hit and are talented and can even out the playing field in the NFL and have less haves and less have-nots, because that's all we saw this year, right? We saw a bunch of teams with 12 or more wins, and we saw a bunch of teams who were just complete shit. So that's good. That's good for the product.
Yeah, it's good for the league because Rodgers is the last of a dying breed of that class from 20 years ago, from Roethlisberger to Eli, I'm forgetting the one from San Diego, Phillips or Phillips or Philip Rivers.
Rivers.
Excuse me. Yeah. He's the last of that class, the dying breed. Brady's already done, and he should have been done, I think, 5 years ago. But it's all these guys. The AFC's a gauntlet, and they're all under 30. Allen, Lamar, Mahomes. People I'm not ready to give up on Herbert, I think, yet. I think he has to show it this year if he's ever going to get back to that. He's had 2 bad playoffs now, Herbert has, by far. I think he's still a good quarterback. I'm not ready to give up on him, yet, like some people are. But, again, the NFC, you got, Goff is, I think he's just around 30, 31. Goff is not too old. I think he's around 30, Jared Goff is. But then you got Hurts, you got a bunch of other NFC. You don't have a whole lot of guys, but it's mostly AFC. But CJ Stroud, you just named 5-6 guys right there they're the next wave of quarterbacks that are next 10 plus years probably, barring health. So yeah, it's good for the product. I think out of this class, I think Williams is the bust probably because I think he's a head case. I watched him at USC and Oklahoma all those years. Again, he's a weird guy, the crying with the parents and the nail polish, whatever you want to say personally about the guy. Okay, that's one thing, but as a football player, I just don't see it. Again, even if he had Andy Reid and the Chiefs, I don't think he would succeed anyway. I don't see it either. Even if he had a Sean Payton or KOC, I don't think it happens. I just don't think he has the talent wise, or I think he has the talent. I just don't think he has the mental capability, I think, to do it. I think that's my opinion. Caleb Williams. I'd rather have Drake May or again, Daniels was my number one guy by far on that board last year. Was Daniels last year by number one. Was Daniels last year by country mile. Was Jane Daniels, I think, last year too. I'm not a big fan of both. I think Knicks was more of a product of the whole. I think a system around him. Like I said, the system around him. He had one of the best defenses in the NFL last year in Denver. Good offensive line, good head coach. Again, people talk about Darnold and KOC. I think it was kind of the same thing. I think it was kind of the same thing. That's my opinion. But yeah, so
let's bring up Hallie's comment there. Statistically, Caleb Williams had a decent year.
Yeah, he did.
I would push back on that a little bit, and this is what I'm going to say. He led the NFL in sacks. He almost broke the record this year for sacks taken.
He almost broke Carr's record.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I think he took 78 sacks or something like that.
Isn't
So
like
he held on to the
81
ball.
was
I think so. Yeah. So he was real
David. It was
close.
David Carr, the older brother, right? He was when he was
Yes.
the Texans quarterback 20 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he held on to the ball way too much, took sacks. Now I don't know how much of that is on the coaching staff. No, I don't personally think that we can put a lot of that on the offensive line, because you look at these PFF grades and the Bears are like middle of the league in pass protection. It wasn't like it was a steaming garbage, pile of shit. It was fine.
Tevin Jenkins was good. Their
Yeah.
Solomon, their center, he was decent. The right tackle, he was pretty good. Before he got hurt.
Like
They have some good
some of the
pieces on the
parts is
offensive
fine.
line. Yeah. They're decent. Yeah.
But when people like to focus on, and what they really talked about in the broadcast was that his touchdown to interception ratio was really, really good for a rookie. And I would agree with that. But if you watch the games, he played
garbage time.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage time, but he was really careful with the football, which you like to see, but he was almost careful to a fault, where he wasn't pushing the ball downfield, putting the ball in harm's way, giving 50-50 balls to a wide receiver like Rome Odunze, which is what you drafted him for, by the way.
Yeah.
That's his specialty. If you watch Michael Penix at Washington with Rome Odunze was like my favorite wide receiver in the country. I was like, this guy is a freaking baller. But Rome Odunze in a Bears jersey was not good. And it's because they're not using him right. But anyways, my point being was that he had flashes of just stupid, talented throws where you're like, wow, that's a Mahomes throw. Not very many guys can make that throw.
Mahomes-esque to a fault. Yes. Yeah.
But there's way too many times watching him this year, and I watch a lot of Bears games this year. I live in Chicago, where
feel sorry for you.
First of all, it's not good football. I mean, in Minnesota, he had guys open all over the field and just was not seeing the field and was not letting go with the, pulling the trigger. But that's why those numbers look so good, is because he wouldn't put the ball in harm's way, but he was also taking sacks because he's holding onto the football, right?
He's just like Kirk that way. Remember, that's what Kirk would do. He wouldn't take chances until KOC got here. He wouldn't take chances. He's just too careful. Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's like, okay, we can look at the touchdown to interception ratio, and yes, he had a good season by those accounts. But contextually, if you just watch the games, it didn't look good. It didn't look good at all.
Yeah.
And now they got a lot of hope because they're hiring Ben Johnson. He's the most sought after head coach. I mean, in multiple years, getting 13, 14 million as a rookie head coach is just astounding, unheard of. So they're paying him all this money. He's got this high pedigree, but we don't know if it's going to work. We have no idea if that's going to work. We don't know if this guy can lead men. We don't know. We know that he was able to drive a great car in Detroit with a fantastic offensive line, good receiving weapons, and a quarterback in Jared Goff who plays extremely well on schedule. Now he's got to teach Caleb Williams how to play on schedule, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. Caleb Williams has never played on schedule in his life.
That's the key why I don't think it's going to work, because Johnson is very scripted in what he does, and that's what Goff did best than anybody. He's very scripted quarterback. That's what Kirk was good with KOC too. He's very good at scripted plays. Where Caleb Williams, that's all he does. That's all he does. That's all he does. He's not a scripted guy one bit iota. There's no way. That's why I don't think. That's why I don't think it's actually going to work. I don't think it will work actually. Thor agrees too. That's why I don't like it either. So, but it's the Bears. That their Bears are going to Bears. They're the new Detroit Lions. For the last how many 30 years. It's same cycle that they just keep rinse repeat, hiring these coaches. They think they're going to fix them. And I don't think it's going to work personally. But hey, you never know. So.
I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm not speculating because I don't know. There's a situation where Caleb Williams might just not have it between the ears, much like Justin Fields, to
That's
where
he
just couldn't play the game from a processing standpoint and play on time like that. Some dudes just got to see it before they can let it go. That could be his issue. I don't know. But right now, if I had to put money on does this work, does this not work, I'd have to lean towards it doesn't work, because they gotta prove it before I can believe it, type of thing. All right. Well, we got off on a Bears tangent. That seems to happen on this show.
That's okay.
Sometimes
you gotta do it once in a while just to cover the quota.
Steve, I was right there with you. Jaden Daniels, I had him number one. Caleb Williams, I said I wouldn't cry that we got him, but I would say I said that he has the biggest red flags, and I thought it was character. Not like you said, the fingernail polish, whatever. But it was like fuck you, Notre Dame, and then he threw 3 picks and he cried in the stands, stuff like that. But more importantly for me was I thought he had other interests, and when I saw him in a dress on GQ, fashion walks and shit like that, I just think, you know what, you got other interests, man. I don't think he's really. I think you're going to be more about the image than you are about the actual playing.
I think he cares more about making money than football. I guess I'll put it that way, if that makes sense. Whether they can make sense, yeah. I think it's more money than football.
Having the thought after after a game, a bad defeat, and you said, "I want to go home and play video games and cuddle with my dog." I mean, this is
he kind of reminds me of Johnny.
Number one, you're not interviewing for the number one spot in the draft. So I was worried about that. I don't think he's a bad kid or anything.
No.
Obviously not. I think he was raised right. I think everything's fine there. It was more of a body language, kind of a Jay Cutler type shit going on.
It's
intangibles.
It's personality, yeah. I mean, last year, if I had to stack the quarterbacks just from this past draft, Jaden Daniels, I still think Drake May has just more of an athletic profile than McCarthy. I love McCarthy. Trust me, I love McCarthy. I think Drake May has a higher ceiling. I think he has a little bit higher ceiling. I think if he does hit.
We know KOC liked Drake May over.
Yeah, well, they tried to get him. Yeah, they tried to get him. I know for a fact they tried to get him. It's no secret they wanted him. That's no secret they wanted to get him. That's no secret they wanted him. I'd go Daniels, May. I'd put even McCarthy, and then I'd go Williams, even though that's where I would stack him if I had to pick. I'm a big McCarthy guy, and I am. He's just got, I think, again, like I said, mentally, he's just got it. He's got that intangible. You just, again, right. Like,
where were you at on Penix?
Penix? Actually, sorry, I forgot about him.
If we drafted him.
I loved Penix in college because I
wouldn't have minded it. I wouldn't have hated it if we had to pick one. Yeah, if him or Nix, I would have gone with Penix by far. Yeah.
Thor really shaped my opinion because I was pro Penix, anti JJ McCarthy. Yeah. But then through the draft cycle and listening,
I was too until I heard what he said about McCarthy.
And Thor really laid out from a tool standpoint, a processing standpoint, the way that they attack you standpoint. I didn't realize that Penix was completely non-mobile. All right, since his knee injuries.
Well, the injuries he's had in the last 4 years.
Well,
shoulder
I saw him play a little bit this year, and he seemed okay.
He's been healthy for about 2 years now, but
not as mobile as the other guys. Bo Nix, very mobile. JJ McCarthy, very mobile.
Trust me, as a guy who I've had lifelong knee injuries, I can tell you this for a fact. It wears on you every which way. Trust me, it breaks you down more than you can ever imagine. Trust me. You know what? Here's a good point. Byron Buxton. I mean, there's your equivalent right there. But guy's 30 years old. He has like the body of an 80-year-old. That's just because of all the injuries. It's just how it is, unfortunately.
But Thor laid out to us that Penix actually did not attack the middle of the field ever. And
he's a ball
staple.
Guy. Yeah.
That's a staple of Kevin O'Connell's system. There's
and
a lot of deep posts.
McCarthy does best more than anybody.
Digs.
Yeah.
Yep.
McCarthy does better than anybody.
So I mean, we say that, but then we go, well, we didn't see that with we might say that we didn't see that with McCarthy, but
that was Harbaugh.
When we say, Penix threw the ball all the time really short. He threw the ball a lot. He threw like 4,700 yards, whatever, like 3 years in a row. But we're always saying, well, it's short yardage. But no, he had a lot of long throws. But I think you're playing within the system.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, JJ McCarthy's just a handoff merchant because he played on a running team. You can't say that and also say, well, Penix couldn't throw in the middle.
Yeah.
Or Nick could throw behind the line. Well, they just did what they did because that was the offense. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I went searching for McCarthy's good throws just to form my opinion because I was like, I was like on Twitter going, can someone point to a game telling me, aha, this is what you should look for. JJ McCarthy balled out in this game. I just go randomly pick 3 games and he didn't. I mean, he threw 3 picks in one of them. And I'm like, that's how I had
Bowling Green.
So
that doesn't count.
Looking more.
Yeah.
I had to look more. And I was like, okay, I can see it.
I can tell you 2 for sure right now if you want to go rewatch. Alabama 2 years ago, for sure. The Alabama semifinal game when they beat
Started out
Alabama.
really slow though.
Yeah.
I thought.
The Washington game where they lost the title in that title game 2 years ago. If you actually watched that.
Happy birthday.
What?
So
You just had balloons go.
When you do
I'm
this,
sorry.
when you do peace sign, it puts
I'm
up
doing
balloons.
the 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry. Anyway, well,
it?
I had it 2 weeks. Mine was a week and a half ago. So thanks, I guess. Yeah, a week and a half ago. Anyway, but it was Washington, the title game, Alabama, and the title game when they won last year. If you watch those 3 games, he had a couple of good throws that were more than 30 yards. And he had good throws. Whereas Penix, yeah.
For me, when I was watching him, I was like, you know what? This guy's vision. He has vision. He's got the 6th sense like Mahomes. When someone's come breathing down his neck, he knows when
he can sense pressure.
He can move
that's
around
what,
the pocket. He's and I put a video of him comparing him to Fran Tarkenton scrambling, and it was like everybody like, God, it's a fucking spitting image.
Eerily similar their styles. They're already comparing him. Well, is he wearing his number? I'm pretty sure. Wasn't that his number, by the way? Or no, was it
10?
Kramer? Was that Tommy Kramer's number?
Kramer's 9.
Kramer, but they're already comparing him to Tarkenton. That's what they're comparing him to already. And at least in Vikings Twitter, that's what I see a lot of the time. They're comparing him to Tarkenton already.
Yeah. But he has that 6th sense. He's and then I didn't know about his arm strength until the combine.
Well, I mean, again, if you watch that Raiders game, preseason a year ago, it was the Raiders, but still, he threw the ball down the field pretty good in tight windows. Those 2 throws were really good for touchdowns. So again, it's the Raiders, but
the preseason game, the game he got hurt,
against the Raiders where he got hurt,
Oh yeah, I was, and that won me over. Was when he threw a pick and then bounced back from that.
Very next snap, he went right down the field and scored. Yeah,
and then the almost fumble, and then right after that he threw a touchdown. So I just didn't see rookies do that, and I thought, well, he's won me over.
Yeah.
So Matthew Collar, I listened to his show a lot, and he was talking about how it was very evident how much progress this kid made from the very start of OTAs to the end of training camp when he was injured, unfortunately. Yeah. And he was saying about, like, it was very clear to him and the other beat members that McCarthy was actually a better processor of information than Sam Darnold. And he got the ball out quicker
by a country mile.
He read the field. He read the field better in the middle of the field, much better than Sam Darnold did. And so Collar's expecting this offense to look quite a bit different than it did this year. A lot less routes that are just completely going down the field, like the Sam Darnold specialty routes, those deep digs, the streaks, the comebacks. It's going to be a lot more crossers and stop routes up the middle and things like that. So,
and I agree.
And that's exciting to me because that's not going to put as much stress on the offensive line.
So my thought process with Sam Darnold compared to like Nick Mullins was I thought Nick Mullins throws with anticipation. He just doesn't have the arm strength like Sam Darnold does. But J.J. McCarthy has both. He has the arm strength to do this, and he also has the anticipation. And you could tell because of that long throw. What's his name?
Tristan Jackson.
Tristan Jackson down the left side. You could just see that he has that. Sam Darnold doesn't. He was late on throws in the playoff game and the Detroit game. He didn't pull the trigger. I can see J.J. McCarthy knowing where the guy's going to be and throwing it there and getting him open. Sam Darnold was eating it.
Well, why I think that's why he's that's why I think he's a perfect fit for this offense, because what do Jefferson and Hockenson do better than anything else? Intermediate routes. They're not like home run, deep speed kind of guys. Jefferson, he's fast when he's in the open field. That's one thing. Remember the 97-yard touchdown this past year against the Frisco, that game. Remember that 97-yard play he had, downfield, but that's what McCarthy does better than anything is the intermediate routes. That's and that's what Darnold obviously never did, was, again, when they compared his numbers, like from the deep ball, like intermediate, he was best in the league at the long ball, worst almost in the league at the intermediate routes. So again, there was no in between. Where McCarthy, I think he can do both, like you said. Yeah. So I think it helps. I think it helps JJ. I think it helps Hockenson. Addison's more I think Addison's more your deep threat kind of guy. Because he's fast. He's fast. Not Naylor fast, but he's still fast to get down the field. Speaking of, do you remember that Bears game where he got annihilated? The pass interference down the field, like it was like 1st and goal. Do you remember that throw against the Bears this past year where Donald threw it down the field and they called the guy? He caught the ball on the 5-yard line.
Oh yeah.
But the guy was that was a 50-yard throw. So he still caught the ball regardless. He got annihilated, but he still caught the ball. And guys, it doesn't matter. But yeah. I think Addison's more your deep threat guy, where I think, JJ and Hawkinson, they're more intermediate guys by far. So I think they'll do well. Again, how did the Lions and how did LA beat us this year? They carved us up. That's what they did. Remember, LA, that was LA's blueprint the whole year. They did it to us twice that game with the Kua and Cup. Same thing. Intermediate guys will carve up middle of the field. That's what they did. Remember, against us. So yeah, I actually look. That's why I like him. The offense, I think, is a good 50 offense. I think so too, by far. More than Darnold. I think more than Darnold is. Yeah, by far. So yeah.
Let's transition to Kwesi's contract. Dave, do you think, in your opinion, that Kwesi has earned an extension?
He's hit on some guys. I'm not, he's hit on Addison. I thought he hit on Kyrie Jackson. Unfortunately, he died.
He was my favorite player in the draft, and I still can't watch that clip. When they calling all the guys, I can't watch the clip. I still can't watch the clip at all. I can't watch it anymore. It's too sad.
I really like him.
He was my favorite player in the draft last year by far. My favorite player in the whole draft.
He's a good kid. He had a great story. He's a good kid, and don't drink and drive, guys. If you had a few, call an Uber.
Yeah,
call Dave.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, Dave. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't even cut you off there.
But obviously, draft's a little. But the UDFA's. I think he might be. I had this complaint about him. I think he tries to make. He drafts players he connects with, and and that was Lucene. He connected with him. It was the obvious connection he had. You could just hear and when they meet the first time, he talks about, oh, remember that song we talked about? Like what is that way to pick a player is ask him what songs he likes. I mean, it's fine. Go ahead and ask him that, but don't make that the first thing you talk about when you see him again after you draft him. But that just worried me a little bit. But obviously, free agency's just knocked it out of the park. He has hit on a Jordan Addison. It sucks that he just to have the faith in Ivan Pace Jr. Just this free agent class, he hit on every single one of those players. He managed the budget. He set us in a good place for the future. I think, in fact, I don't know why it's taking so long. I want him to sign it now so he can make decisions based on, hey, I know I'm going to be here. And my biggest thing I talked about School Doc last week was we need to sign him now so he'd feel comfortable just saying, I'm going to switch over to JJ. I'm going with JJ now. That's our future. I know I'm going to be here. I don't have to worry about winning 14 games again this year. Right. I can go with my quarterback and, the future.
Yeah, personally, and this is just my opinion, I think I am willing to write off a lot of that 2022 draft class on the fact that the defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel, was a bad hire. Okay. There's an absolute miss of a hire that I placed mostly on Kevin O'Connell because that's his guy that he brought in.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're working with your scouts and you're collaborating, which was their big buzzword, right?
I hate that word. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, he said, okay, what do we need? And they looked at all their needs, and Kwesi said, okay, that's a lot of needs, and we need more picks. So he forced the trade down, okay, and he took, in my opinion, bad value. Now, there's a lot of analytical charts that came out that tried to say that it was actually closer than it looks. Whatever, I don't care. It was a terrible trade down. And you forced it. Now, the way that it works, guys, in case not everybody knows this, every draft does not have 32 first-round graded players, okay? Mm-hmm. There might be 10 to 15 first-round graded players, and the Vikings were picking 12 that year, I think. 12 or 14. 12. So they were right there in a position. We talked about the players. Jordan Davis, we wanted him. Kyle Hamilton, wanted him. The wide receiver, Jameson Williams.
I was a little lukewarm because of the injury on him, but
the fact was there was blue chip players available there, and Kwesi said, he came out and admitted this, I wanted to fix too many holes all at once, is what he said. And he was right. And they missed.
I was the same way in college.
Not only did they miss on Scene, they missed on Booth. They missed on subsequently
Ingram,
at Ingram,
Asamoah, however you want to pronounce it.
So there's too many misses. I agree with that. Okay. But the 2022 draft, in my opinion, they had a ton of needs on defense. They got a shopping list from Ed Donatel and the defensive staff, and then they had a terrible defensive year. They fired Ed Donatel. They brought in Flores. Flores is an excellent evaluator of talent. Okay. Since they've brought in Flores, we've seen some excellent additions, both in free agency and the draft. Okay. So I think that and then you've mentioned Addison, a hit there. I think that they're definitely on the right path to correcting their drafting woes. And I'm willing to but I admit that, yes, that needs to improve, but I'm willing to give him the leash to improve that. So long-winded way of saying that, yes, I would extend Kwesi. I think what he's done in free agency has been impressive. I want to see what he's able to do with a lot more cash this year. And did I think that the trade up for Dallas Turner was probably a little rich? Yes, but I'm really excited about the talent that he has and the player that they can mold him to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I'll just round it out. Me personally, I'm not a fan of Kwesi. I think I've mentioned that already tonight. I wasn't a fan of Spielman. I think they should have fired him years ago too. I think he got too cute. I'm not saying Kwesi is like that, but here's the thing. Yeah, and people keep saying, like Tyler keeps saying, you can absolve him of that draft to a point, but the bottom line is he made the picks. He made the decisions to trade down, make the picks. So yeah, he's following all these guys that they weren't his scouts, they weren't that. He didn't have his guys in yet, but ultimately he made those picks. He made the decision to trade down. Had you even found one guy from that whole draft, I don't think we'd even be talking about this. And
Jalen Naylor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Naylor and yeah. So
Nick Muse, Super Bowl champ, I guess now.
Yeah. Like Tyler, he would argue they were hits. Like, oh, Caleb Evans. And here's your point about like why you don't like him, because he connects with guys too weirdly. Remember what he said about Evans? I saw him in the film room one night, dude. No,
that was his guy. That was the one he wanted.
And he got 1/2 a good year out of him. Then he's not on the team anymore. So I don't count that as a hit. I mean, yeah, he started for a 4th round pick. You're mostly a backup anyway. You could start. Bynum's a 4th round pick, if you remember too. But
Ed Ingram was the big reach.
That was the reach that really screwed you.
I like Boo Jr., so that's my fault.
I was a fan of Booth. I love the pick. I love that pick, and seeing I was okay with that pick when they traded down. But obviously it backfired. So, but yeah,
Ingram was a reach. You go.
Yeah, that was a bad
his background, his criminal history.
Yeah.
I'm a big. That's not a locker room fit, man. A lot of guys have sisters.
I'm a big component of Arif Hassan's consensus board.
Yeah,
I truly believe that.
I've known him for several years now. I used to listen to him when he had another podcast with Luke Inman and those. Luke, he's on the Locked On Minnesota Sports. I think with those guys now. Those guys I love. I've known them for many years, and they're very good guys. They're very smart guys when it comes to the draft.
So I was when I was a medical student. This would have been like 20. I think it was like 2017, 2018, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I rotated at Regions Hospital in St. Paul or Minneapolis. I forget which city it was in. I think I lived in St. Paul, but Regions is at Minneapolis. But anyways, I got a beer with Luke and Arif at Blue Door Pub.
I did too back then. That's how I met them. Yeah,
great guys. Super fun guys.
I won't mention the third guy anymore.
Yeah,
but
no,
we're not gonna
I got one with him too.
Yeah,
he was awkward, man. And if you don't know who we're talking about in the comments, he's got a very.
We know who he is.
Does it start with A and end with Andy?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately. But that's how I met those guys. That's how I met. That's how I got. That's really what got me into the draft was those guys actually too. That same year got me into the draft. Those years with those guys for sure.
Luke, go get your guys.
Yeah, Luke. He should have copyrighted that whole phrase. He should, because That is still my favorite saying to this very day. Go get your guys. Because everyone uses it now. Anyway, sorry. The last thing on the about Kwesi. I wouldn't extend him yet. Me personally, I really see him let him ride it out with this year. And if he does it, so here's the thing. For me to, I think, finally accept him as my GM and of the future, and at least give him more of a leash, if you want to call it that, whatever, give him more leeway. I think you have to hit the first 2 picks in the draft by far this year. By far, your first 2 picks. I think you have to. Damn, I'm doing it again. Sorry, freaking hate doing that. See why not?
I don't know why mine doesn't do it.
Why I don't know, but whatever.
I don't know. Is that
anyway? I'm on my phone too, but anyway, you got to know your first 2 picks this year by far.
how many?
You got to at least fix your offensive line, or you got to find 2 guys. I think free agency by far. I think this year too. If you don't do that, I don't think you're the right guy for the job. That's my personal opinion. Again, I'm just one guy.
Trades down. We kind of feel like there's value there.
Well, yeah. So again, I would trade down personally. So again, you talk about and what I'm seeing of like guys like Dane Bluger, who is very plugged in draft guy, by the way. I think Dane Bluger is a very good draft analyst. Daniel Jeremiah, very plugged in. He's very plugged in. Front office guy for sure. So listen to those 2 guys by far. What they say is almost gospel because I like those guys. What they do by far, I think is better than anybody else in the league. That's my opinion. But anyway. They mentioned, there might be 5 blue chip guys in this whole draft, maybe 5-10 blue and like you just mentioned, maybe 10 to 15 first round graded players, maybe. That's stretching it, I think, by far. Maybe not like last year by far, easily not like last year.
I think it was Daniel Jeremiah. I saw a tweet recently said he had 24 startable grades at defensive tackle in this draft,
and he had 12 last year, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So he's got double already this year. Me personally, so Kwesi, if you're gonna, they'll probably they're gonna extend him by far. They will extend him. I know they're gonna they'll give him an extension. I know they'll extend him by far. They will. I give him a 2-year extension. Don't give him a 3 or 4 year deal. Give him like a 2-year, short term extension. That's what I would do. And then if you hit on, again, we don't know about McCarthy yet. We don't know about Dallas. We just don't know yet. Those guys. By the way, you guys forgot one too. You remember Blackman's coming back from injury this year too. And that was So we don't know for sure what's going to happen. The 2022 draft is just, I think it's a wash. I don't like any of those guys. Again, just, call it a day with any of those guys. Just get them off the team. Hell, I don't see anybody making the team next year. Nailers, I think Nailor might be on the roster this year. Probably will be because he's wide receiver 3 right now. Outside of that, Ingram was probably gone for sure. He's taking $3 million in cap. He's probably gone for sure. Asamoah is a special teams guy, but you can save $1 million by cutting him.
He's a good special teamer. I think he'll.
Yeah, but you can save $1 million by cutting him too, which I would do.
You're gonna have to replace him with another special teamer who makes $1 million.
You can find those guys in the draft easily, or you can find those guys. They're not hard to find. Those kind of guys. And then Chandler, I think he's gone because they'll
don't trust him.
Yeah, they'll probably resign. Akers. I would bring back Akers. I would let Jones walk. Me personally, I think he's just too. I think he's just too old now.
He's gonna be 31
actually this year. Yeah. And what is Akers? Akers is like what, 26? He's not that. He's been in the league forever.
Akers is good. He could pass block. He looks more explosive at the end of the year.
When he's healthy,
I'm totally good with Akers.
Big if is when he's healthy. Yeah, big if is when he's healthy. Yeah, big if is when he's healthy.
Which brings me to our point that Dave was talking about. When Dave said that we feel more comfortable this year moving back, a big reason for that is if we move back, even out of the first round, and we do lose out on some of those defensive tackle guys like Kenneth Grant, what have you.
Yeah, Walter Nolan, whoever. Yeah.
I know that there's quality running backs that you can take at the top of the second round, like Caleb Johnson. We both love Caleb Johnson. And so we feel just a little bit safer moving
I'm not
back.
a huge Thor loves him. He's an Iowa guy. Tyler's one of my best friends by far. I listen to what he says. I've known Tyler for over a decade now. He's in my wedding. He's actually one of my personal best friends. I've known him for over a decade now. Actually, 15 years of going on. He doesn't like him.
On my show twice.
Yeah,
I love Tyler.
He doesn't like Caleb Johnson, and again, he's not always right about people too.
What's his deal with Caleb? Is it just top end speed?
I don't know.
Think that's wrong. I think he's got it. I don't think he's like elite, but
we'll have to get Forno on and talk to him about this.
Well, hell, if you bring me and Forno on the show, we would be arguing. We probably wouldn't get anyone on the show.
I don't think I'd get a word in edgewise.
Probably wouldn't with me and Forno by far. I guarantee you probably.
I barely can right now.
Forever.
So
anyway,
draft night when Forno was with the Score North guys.
I was
at
there.
The Fillmore.
Yep.
That was so fun watching him and break down the picks.
Good
I was
night.
a little irked by Tyler. When they traded up for Dallas Turner.
He wasn't a big fan of the Dallas Turner trade.
And I'm like, bro, just let me be happy. Just tell me, just feed me the positives, right? Just keep feeding me the positives. And he's like, nah, dude, I'm telling you, Chop is the guy, like Chop Robinson.
Yeah,
well, and then sure as shit, Chop looked pretty fucking good this season.
Chop had a good year, but look at Jared Verse. He's 3 years older, but he had a good year.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. With Turner, it's all about the key word is potential. Yes, I think he has a higher, floor. Those guys have higher ceilings by far. I think he has a higher floor. I think Turner does by far. He's 21. He's just turned 20 or 22. He's still very young. He's still growing probably too. He's got to get bigger by far in the offseason, I think. But if he hit, but I'm telling, I wasn't a big fan of giving up a 3rd or 4th round pick. That's good quality capital for giving up 6 picks in the last year. Go up 6 picks and get him this last year. But if he hits, man, but if you hit on McCarthy and him in that same draft,
well, you're cooking with gas, dude.
They're your franchise guys the next decade. By far, easily.
That sack, that move that Dallas Turner put on Darnell Wright in the Bears game.
Knocking him on the ground.
Dipped up and under him. I'm like, ooh, you can't teach that. That is just pure talent.
Wasn't that the Chicago game? If I remember right, was that
and then
Chicago
he's got the
game?
freakish long arms and
and he can cover tight ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
you got to pick.
You saw the pick in the Seattle game. Remember, you saw the pick in the Seattle game, too. Mm-hmm. He's pretty quick for a guy, his size. He's actually pretty quick. He's quick for a guy his size, or he's not that big, but he's quick for a guy his size. Yeah.
So we got to wrap up the show here. Let's go to our prospects. So we're gonna focus on 2 prospects at the end of our show, just leading up to the draft. And tonight, our first prospect, I think, we got Benjamin Morrison. Dave, is that right?
Yeah.
I figured you might have some production value in there.
I don't.
Oh, that's okay.
I remember I said I didn't have any production value today.
That's right. That's right.
Benjamin Morrison, corner for Notre Dame.
What do you want to know? So here's the thing. By the way, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. My family is all Notre Dame fans. What do you want to know? I can tell you easily verbatim what you want to know about the guy.
Just to throw a wrench into this, Skoldoc, when I looked at NFL Draft Buzz, they said his comparison of value or quality was Andrew Booth Jr.
Oh,
no way! No way!
That was NFL Draft Buzz.
No way!
One bad injury, and all of a sudden
there's 3 other players that compare him to too, but here's the thing. Go ahead. Tell us, Steve-O.
What makes me again, if he's healthy, that's the thing. That's what scares me about drafting him. I would love the pick if he's healthy. Hip injuries for cornerbacks, they scare me. That's a bad injury. It's not like a meniscus for McCarthy. It's not like he tear ACL. Hip injuries scare me. Look what happened. You remember what happened that ruined he was here. Remember Trey Waynes? Ruined his career. Wasn't that hip injuries that ruined his career? I'm sure it's was it knee injury? Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Sure I can't remember.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
Remember.
But
he went to Cincy and just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Hips scare the crap out of me because you have to be able to turn, Jackson. And that's what he does. He's a straight line guy. That's what he is. He's a straight line guy. If he's healthy, by far, I got no problem with it. It makes me a little nervous, but again, as a freshman, that kid was just all world good as a freshman and good as a sophomore. Again, he only played. I think he played a handful of games. I think he got hurt early in the year.
So he went 1-on-1 against Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison
and he
Jr.
shut him down.
3 catches for 32 yards.
So that was my thoughts watching just the highlights on him was sticky as hell. Ball skills.
That's the exact word I was saying.
Plays the ball.
Sticky.
He looks like a wide receiver. Like he has a sixth sense for knowing the ball's in the air, and I know where to find it. Yes,
turns to look for the ball. You see the receiver's eyes.
He looks kind of slight. Like he's kind of skinny.
Yeah, 190, he's 6 foot, 180 pounds. I want to say he's not.
I have him listed 190.
Yeah, so he can bulk up. He is 6 feet tall. Yeah, so not a lanky guy, but he's solid for his frame. That's what he is.
So NFL Buzz has him as a below 4.4, like a 4.37.
Yeah. If he was healthy, he'll run below that. Yeah.
If he was healthy, he strikes me as a guy who would probably go top 15.
If he hadn't got injured, you'd be talking about potentially a top 10 pick if he wasn't injured this year. Before he got injured, he was one of the best corners on football. And I don't count Travis Hunter as a good cornerback. Whatever you want to say about Travis Hunter. Okay, yeah, he's a unicorn. Whatever.
Blasphemy, bro.
Well, whatever. I'm not.
Damn
I'm
good
not a
corner.
consensus guy. I'm against the green guy. That's how I've been my whole life. Anyway, trust me.
You got a request from Daniel.
I would argue Will Johnson's better corner than he is. Will Johnson, he's what 5'9". That guy is just from Michigan. Will Johnson. He's what 5'10". He's not that big, and I think he's better corner. I think he just is by far better corner than Hunter. Anyway, yeah, but. Me personally, I'd love the pick if he's there at the end of the first. He might drop because the injury. He might drop because the injury in the first round. He might, yeah.
That could be a trade situation, right? And
let's go back to 29, 30. He's sitting there. You just take him all day long. 'Cause at the end of the first round, it's a dart throw anyway. I would take him if he's there at the end of the first. That's what I would take him. I don't think he will be there personally. I think he still will go. I think he will go top 20. I think he still go up top 20. I think he will go. I think he will go top 20. I'm pretty sure he will still go in that high range. But
and to be fair, I know I threw the wrench out there at the beginning. I don't compare him to Andrew Jr. at all. I
wouldn't either.
Much more
He's
fluid.
far better football player than Andrew Jr.
Much more fluid. I really like Boo Jr. because he would really attack the run. He was, but I thought he was handsy in college. I think this is more of a complete corner right now.
Yeah, I think he's more of a shutdown. If he's healthy, he has a chance to be a shutdown corner in the NFL by far. He has a chance to be for sure.
Personally, I like taking Notre Dame players. I just think that
I do too, but that's
a little biased. I think they tend to hit.
I grew up a Notre Dame fan, so
Harrison. Harrison
Smith,
great pick, and then Kyle Rudolph, great pick. They're constantly putting alignment into.
Look at the last few years. Joe Alt is potentially an All-Pro left tackle already after year one. Quentin Nelson was the best guard in football in the last 15 years. Easily by far. Zach Martin, the other guard from Notre Dame, all world left guard, all world guard for the past decade. These guys are they turn them out like you wouldn't believe every year. Like at least got one guy every year that come out every year. That's pretty good.
Michael Floyd, great DUI.
He was okay, but he was Was he first round pick, by the way? Was he first round pick? Wasn't he first round pick this year?
Yeah, I
think
he was
right? For the,
like a 6'5" guy who could run.
Yeah.
I want to say second round, but
I think he was actually first round. I'm pretty sure he was first round. I think he was actually. Yeah, was it the Cardinals' first round pick? I think he was actually. Was he a first round pick? I'm pretty sure he was. Anyway, but yeah, sorry, I won't keep you much longer. But me personally, my favorite guy for Notre Dame, Xavier Watts, the safety. I think he's a great player. I think he's under
first round. Arizona.
Yeah, I think he's undervalued. Xavier Watts on this draft too. He's a safety coming out with him this year.
13th overall pick.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So keep an eye on Xavier Watts. I think he's a good guy too to watch. He's a safety, but he's a great player too. I think he's being undervalued by far. Him too. So who's your next guy?
What was the receiver white dude that ended up pitching in Major League Baseball?
The Notre Dame guy.
Yeah. Started with an
S. Yeah. Samardzija.
Oh God, he was awesome.
He was I love that guy. Shamarzai. I can't spell it. I don't pronounce it. Yeah. Good luck. I can't pronounce it. Even I don't spell it at all.
He had a cup of tea. He had a cup of tea in the MLB.
He was an outfielder for the Cubs, wasn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Or I thought he was a pitcher, but I think he was a pitcher. Yeah.
Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, Jeff. There it is. Who's your other guy, by the way? Here.
So prospect number 2 is Tyler Booker, the guard from Bama.
Okay.
Mountain of a man, 6'6", 330.
320, but he's right in there. Yeah, he's right in there somewhere. 310, 315, I think I heard.
From what I've seen from scouting, it's like he hasn't met his potential yet. He could still improve. In terms of his pass sets, you're not going to bull rush that guy.
No.
You're not giving up.
One thing I noticed with that is he keeps his hands inside.
Yeah.
It's right in there.
He's a stone. He's hard to get off a block. He's a stone wall, essentially. Yeah, most. Yeah.
Run blocking, he's a finisher.
Yeah, finisher, but being that big, he can have issues in space. Kind of reminds me of a big ass, Mekhi Becton type. Like just a big ass guy. He's going to be a rock and pass protection, tough in space, probably not the best screen player, right?
Or Deion Walker is a man of the human being, but he lifted up like no problem. Or like Deion Walker and the
Becton isn't he like 6'7" now?
Yeah, he's a mammoth of a dude.
Like
he's big.
Brandel is 6.
Yeah.
But Brandel's only like 300.
Yeah. Me personally, I actually like his teammate better. If you heard of Jaden Roberts, I actually like him better. He's his teammate coming out. He's the other guard from Alabama. He might be a later round pick. I actually like him better than I actually like him more in Booker. I do actually. Would I hate the pick? I wouldn't hate the pick at all, but that's just me. I like, and again, trench wise, I'm over trenches. That's by far we need by far trench guys. You know, I'm all for it. So if he's there, I would take him. Yeah, he'd probably be there. I'm assuming.
I would be fine with it. I'd prefer a little bit of a trade down, like to 30.
Oh no,
and
sure,
then
trade
take him
down.
at 30.
Then maybe take him.
Yeah.
Top of
If
second
we kept
round.
Bradbury and we had Beckman.
Unfortunately, I don't like.
Becton.
I hate Bradbury.
Becton,
I can't
Becton,
stand
Mekhi
sorry.
that guy.
Becton.
If we had Becton, we would have like the fucking tallest guys in this little
It's like
Yeah.
Twin Towers over. Yeah. Have you seen that photo on the internet? You seen that photo on the internet of the remember at the Wolves game where he's with Kyle Rudolph and I can't remember who else was with in that. Remember that in that photo? How small Bradbury is in that photo?
Yeah,
that's what he reminds me of. Yeah,
Rudolph and O'Neal or something.
Yeah, I was like, it was Rudolph.
Yeah,
and O'Neal.
it would be 4 guys 6'5" or taller, and then you got
one guy 6'3", up 300 pounds. He's a yeah. I'm not talking about him.
I want to end the show on this vision right here. We got Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah,
and then at left guard you got Tyler Booker. You got Bradbury, the midget at center.
Unfortunately,
at right guard you got Mekhi Becton, and then you got Brian O'Neal as a right tackle. I mean, I'll tell you what.
I wouldn't hate it.
I tell you what. We're gonna score a hell of a lot more rushing touchdowns inside the 5-yard line with that offensive line.
But who's your running back too? But who's your running back too? Though you got to find a running back. That's the problem. You got to find a running back first.
Don't fucking matter.
Cam
Akers. Cam
Akers. Was it the center from Indy that I was talking about? It was a veteran.
Oh, Ryan Kelly. Yeah, he's a little older. He's got a lot of injury problems. I don't want to touch. I wouldn't go. You don't want to touch him. No, but again, I would go after. So if you're gonna go after a center, I think Gallman. I think he ends up going back to Atlanta. I don't think they let him leave. He's the only guy that's really out there that's really good.
Well, he's also a Bradbury, but a little bit better.
Yeah, and
that's what I didn't like about it.
You're gonna have to pay him more money, which I wouldn't pay him more money either. Too, I wouldn't pay him. And honestly, the guy I actually, well, they mentioned this on the Score North pod today. He was the center for Chicago the last few years. Solomon, I can't remember his last name. He was the center for the Bears last 2 years or last year. Actually, wasn't bad. You could get him for a fraction of that price, probably. Wouldn't be a great, it wouldn't be an upgrade, but it'd still be a solid center. Better than what you have now, I think, by far. So, yeah.
At this point, do you just feel like you want a bigger center?
I just want somebody. Yeah, I don't care. I just want somebody better. I don't care who it is. I just want somebody better. I hate Bradbury. I never liked that pick years ago. Still hate that guy. Never liked him either. Never liked the pick. Still don't to this very day.
The Grim Reacher.
Really sweaty.
Yeah. Here's the thing. My dream scenario, if we're talking dream scenario wise, off season, I'd go again. I would sign Becton. I'd sign Tevin Jenkins.
Yeah.
I would cut Bradbury. I would draft the guy to compete with Jurgens. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
You remember they're big on Jurgens. Remember Kwesi said about Jurgens last year? He was like, he was really big on Jurgens apparently. Remember Michael Jurgens, the guy Wake Forest was Wake Forest. Is that who he is? Yeah, Wake
7th
Forest
round pick. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're that high on the guy, and you remember he mentioned about linear progression too, and that's what Kwesi mentioned. Remember in his presser at the end of the year. If you like the guy that much, cut Bradbury and then just draft the guy.
Save $3 million. I agree. If you sign 2 ass-kicking guards,
yeah, exactly.
I'm fine to put Michael Jurgens in as a rookie. It is
a little any worse than what
it is a little worrisome. It's a little worrisome with JJ McCarthy coming in, getting his first starting experience, and having a rookie center come in. But all right, guys, we got to wrap this show up.
Yeah, we went a little long, didn't we? I'm sorry. Keep you guys.
That's all good, man. Steve, it's been great having you. Dave, thank you as always. Great show tonight, guys. Everyone in the comments.
Be around. Yeah, if you need me again, let me know. It will help. I'll be on for the draft. It's gonna be awesome. The draft gonna be awesome.
Give us one more peace sign. Give us some more balloons.
Yeah, one more, and there you go. No
balloons.
There
they are.
Oh, there they are. Sorry about that. I don't know why. Anyway, sorry guys, my bad.
Well, that added to the show, man.
All right.
Great.
Well, yeah, it's good chatting with you guys. I think I follow both you guys. Again, it's good talking football. Always, it's fun. We vent and we go on, right? That's how we get through our day, right? We vent. That's how we get through our day. We vent. That's what we do, right? That's how we get through our day. Metro sports fans. That's what we do, right? So
yes, sir.
every day. One day at a time, right?
One day at a time.
All right, you guys.
Just get one before we die, right?
That's the hope, right? That's always the hope, right? Always the hope. So.
All right, Skull
Anyway,
Vikes.
all right, you guys. Have a good night. Talk to you later.